Mr. Chairman, in many ways, this we've heard from both sides of the aisle on this great need that America has for housing. And it's really what we hear is really a lack of money investment. I think that maybe even since from the Reagan years forward, the federal government has become an absentee landlord. We haven't provided the funding for housing that it takes for families to have a roof over their heads. And so, as appropriators, it's incumbent upon us to make this a priority. And this is not an easy issue, it's a deep pocket issue. Housing is never a cheap endeavor, right? It requires an investment, but it has a direct impact on the quality of life, obviously, of all Americans. And I heard from my colleagues from both sides really have a similar story, similar questions to you, Acting Secretary. So, and nowhere is this more profound and more visible than in the NYCHA complexes of my district and across New York City. NYCHA has 360,000 residents, and it has over 177,000 apartments. But they're in dilapidable conditions. They are really in bad conditions. New boilers are needed, chipping paint, roofs, elevators are done. The wear and tear of this housing stack has taken a toll on it, and it needs investment. In fact, the projection is that a 20-year capital investment need is for $78 billion. Now, get that. I am sure it's no different in each of our districts. The housing needs are so profound. So I want to know, what plan do we have in HUD to begin to address this humongous problem?
Thank you for that, Congressman. We, as a country, we have not kept up with the needs of the public housing portfolio, as you so well stated. And, we can do better, and we need to do better for the families who live in those units. It's one of the reasons why the president, for the past 3 budgets, has proposed billions of dollars of investment for our public housing sites, to deal with heating, to deal with basic, just making sure people have an operating kitchen, to get rid of some of the health hazards we talked about earlier. We have to and we must do more. One of the things that we are doing as well is making sure that people have access to a streamlined version of the RAD, which is the only thing that many agencies, including NYCHA, is using right now to make those repairs. We are trying to make sure we're putting in our annual budget a capital fund amount that deals with it, but it really doesn't all the time.
It's a drop in the bucket, really.
But it's one of the reasons why we've proposed a $7.5 billion investment in our public housing sites, so we can begin the heavy work that you've talked about. And I think that work, married with some of the things that we're already doing, will make a difference. But we must do more.
And that's a call to this committee. This is the THUD committee, subcommittee. To make a priority out of housing again, I think is imperative for our nation on both sides of the aisle. This perhaps could be a bipartisan issue that we can work on. Finally, Acting Secretary, there's a building in my district, 1915 Billingstein Terrace in the Bronx, that collapsed. And they are the recipient of, a part of it collapsed. They are the recipient of low-income housing tax credits and have previously been deemed structurally unsound in 2020. Had the structural needs been addressed, many residents would have had to live through this without this experience, right? What can HUD do to ensure that landlords keep up their housing stock when they receive these low-income housing tax credit?
So LIHTC housing gets not one, most of the time, but 2 inspections. There's requirements that Department of Treasury has that they're inspected every year. And then if there's any vouchers in the building, the housing agency is inspected as well. I think what I'd like to do is maybe sit down with our leadership at Treasury and say, what more can we do together to make our inspections sort of making sure that our inspections are finding these issues before these strategies occur. And I'm happy to work with you on that.
Well, I'll invite you to come and see our NYCHA developments as well.
Absolutely. I
Thank
look
you,
forward
Mr.
to that.
Chairman. I yield back.
Thank you.